Something just broke inside Washington, and it didn't happen on camera. It happened behind closed doors, in a room where power usually stays united. Tonight, that unity cracked. GOP leaders didn't argue. They didn't negotiate. They stood up and they walked out, leaving Donald Trump alone. This moment matters because it signals something deeper than a political disagreement. It suggests a breaking point. For years, Trump has dominated the Republican Party through loyalty, pressure, and fear of backlash. But what unfolded tonight suggests that control may finally be slipping. Not because of voters, not because of the media, but because the party's own leadership may no longer be willing to stand with him. According to multiple accounts circulating in political circles, a closed-door meeting was called to address mounting legal pressure and election strategy. Trump was present. He wasn't there to listen. He was there to demand loyalty, demand unity, demand protection. What he got instead was silence, followed by movement, chairs pushed back, papers left behind, and senior Republican figures exiting the room together. This was not a slow disagreement that dragged on for hours. Sources say it escalated fast. Voices rose, tensions snapped, and then, in what insiders describe as a coordinated move, top GOP leaders stood up and walked out. No speeches, no explanations, just an exit, the kind that doesn't need words to send a message. What makes this moment different is not just the act itself, but who was involved. These were not fringe voices or backbench critics. These were figures who helped shape Trump's rise, protected him during past storms, and defended him when it was politically dangerous to do so. Their departure signals something Trump has rarely faced before: organized resistance from within his own power structure. Trump, by all accounts, was left behind, not physically trapped, but politically exposed. For a leader who built his image on strength and dominance, being abandoned in that room may prove more damaging than any court ruling or headline. Power depends on people showing up. Tonight, they didn't. This is not confirmation that Trump's influence is over. His base remains loyal. His voice remains loud. But institutions move differently than crowds. And institutions are what decide funding, strategy, access, and survival. When leaders walk out, they are not just leaving a room, they are creating distance. And in politics, distance spreads fast. What happens next will determine whether this was a warning or a turning point. But one thing is already clear: something fundamental shifted tonight. The Republican Party, long defined by its relationship with Donald Trump, may be preparing to move without him. And when a leader is left standing alone, the silence that follows is often louder than any speech. The reason this moment carries so much weight is what reportedly triggered it. This was not about campaign slogans or messaging strategy. It was about survival, legal survival, political survival, and whether the Republican Party is willing to keep tying its future to Donald Trump as the pressure around him tightens. The closed-door meeting was reportedly called after fresh legal developments reignited anxiety among party leaders. Court decisions tied to Trump's immunity claims and January 6th related investigations have narrowed his options. What once felt like delay tactics and legal shields are now starting to fail. And when legal walls begin to close in, political allies start doing the math. Inside the room, Trump is said to have pushed hard, not for compromise, not for distance, but for full loyalty. He reportedly demanded that party leadership publicly defend him, challenge the courts, and frame the legal cases as direct attacks on the Republican Party itself. For Trump, the strategy is familiar: turn personal risk into collective risk so no one can walk away. But this time, the response was different. According to people familiar with the discussion, several leaders pushed back. They raised concerns about independent voters, about donor exhaustion, about down-ballot candidates already struggling in key districts. They argued that tying the party's entire future to Trump's legal battles could cost them elections they cannot afford to lose. This is where the tone reportedly shifted. Trump did not soften his stance. He doubled down. He framed hesitation as betrayal. He warned that anyone who failed to stand with him would face political consequences. That approach has worked before. Fear kept the party in line for years. But fear only works when people believe the threat is worse than the alternative. Tonight, that calculation appears to have changed. Several leaders reportedly concluded that staying in the room was riskier than leaving it. That defending Trump might now cost them more than opposing him. And once that realization spreads, loyalty collapses fast. The walkout itself is described as quiet but deliberate. No shouting on the way out, no cameras inside, just movement. A signal sent without words. In politics, that kind of exit is not emotional. It is strategic. It is how power distances itself without triggering open war. For Trump, this moment cuts deeper than public criticism. Public attacks can be fought, media narratives can be countered, but abandonment inside private rooms is different. That is where real decisions are made. And tonight, those decisions may have been made without him. What we are witnessing is not a sudden rebellion. It is the result of pressure building over time. Legal exposure, polling shifts, financial hesitation, fatigue, all of it converging at once. The walkout didn't create the fracture. It revealed it. And once a fracture is visible, it rarely closes on its own. In the next section, we'll break down what is confirmed, what remains unverified, and why the distinction matters more than ever right now. Now comes the most important part of this story, separating what is confirmed from what is still unfolding. In moments like this, speed moves faster than truth, and narratives can harden before facts are fully locked in. So here's what we know, and what still remains unclear. What is confirmed is the broader pressure point. Donald Trump is facing multiple legal cases, and recent court actions have narrowed his room to maneuver. Judges have signaled less patience, timelines are tightening, and the idea that Trump could simply delay everything until after an election is no longer guaranteed. That reality is not speculation. It's visible in court filings, rulings, and scheduling decisions already on the record. What is also confirmed is growing unease inside Republican leadership. This has been visible for months, not hours. You can see it in how statements have changed tone, how defenses have become shorter, and how some leaders now speak about the party rather than the person. Silence in Washington is rarely accidental. Where things become less solid is the exact choreography of the walkout itself. Reports describe a coordinated exit. Multiple sources claim Trump was left isolated. But as of now, there has been no official readout, no on-the-record confirmation, and no public footage from inside the meeting room. That matters, not because the story is false, but because political power often operates in spaces that never fully surface. Here's why that distinction is critical. If this was a dramatic, coordinated walkout, it signals an active decision by leadership to break. If instead it was a tense meeting that ended without resolution, followed by leaders leaving separately, it still signals distance, but a more cautious one. Both scenarios point in the same direction. They just differ in speed. And speed is everything right now. Online, the story is already being framed as a clean rupture. Supporters see betrayal. Critics see liberation. But institutions move slower than social media. Leaders rarely burn bridges in public unless they are certain there is no path back. That's why official confirmation may come late, or not at all. Instead, the real confirmation will come through behavior. Watch who defends Trump publicly in the next 48 hours. Watch who avoids his name. Watch donor behavior. Watch committee schedules. Watch which media appearances get canceled or quietly declined. These signals matter more than any headline. Another key point, this is not about personal dislike. Many of these figures have worked with Trump for years. This is about risk, political, legal, and financial risk. When leaders believe a figure has become unpredictable, uncontrollable, or electorally damaging, distance becomes protection. That doesn't mean Trump is finished. Far from it. His base remains strong. His ability to command attention is unmatched. But attention is not power on its own. Power comes from systems agreeing to move with you. And tonight there are signs that those systems are hesitating. So here's the bottom line of this section. The exact details may still be forming, but the direction is unmistakable. Something has shifted inside the Republican Party. The loyalty that once felt automatic now looks conditional. And when loyalty becomes conditional, the countdown has already started. In the next section, we'll explain why this moment, whether fully confirmed or not, could still reshape the party's future, and what paths the GOP now faces from here. This final section is where everything comes together, because even if every detail of that closed-door meeting never becomes public, the consequences are already unfolding in plain sight. The Republican Party is now standing at a fork in the road. One path leads back to Donald Trump, repairing the break, closing ranks, and continuing forward as it has for years. The other path leads towards separation, not loud, not dramatic, but deliberate, supporting the party's goals without tying every decision to Trump's legal battles, personal fights, and unpredictability. Neither path is easy. Reuniting with Trump means accepting the risks that come with him: court dates, headlines, donor hesitation, and swing voters drifting away. Breaking from him means angering a powerful base that still sees Trump as the heart of the movement. This is why leadership has waited so long. There has never been a safe option, but moments like this force decisions. If GOP leaders choose reconciliation, it will show up quickly. Public defenses will return, language will sharpen, attacks on courts and prosecutors will intensify, fundraising appeals will lean heavily on grievance and loyalty. That would signal the party believes Trump is still its strongest shield. If they choose distance, it will look quieter. No direct condemnation, no dramatic statements, just absence, missed appearances, vague wording, support redirected toward institutional values and future leadership. That kind of shift is subtle, but it is how political eras end. Trump's next move will matter more than any meeting. If he responds with escalation, attacks, and threats, he may harden the divide. If he attempts restraint or reconciliation, it could slow the separation. But Trump's history suggests confrontation comes first, and confrontation accelerates fractures. What makes this moment dangerous is that it is happening under pressure. Legal deadlines are real. Election timelines are fixed. Donors and voters are already choosing sides quietly. There is less room for delay than there used to be. This is why tonight feels different. Not because of a single walkout, not because of one meeting, but because the fear that once held everything together appears to be weakening. And when fear stops working, loyalty stops being automatic. Power doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes, it thins, it drains away through small exits, quiet decisions, and rooms where chairs are left empty. Whether this revolt becomes a footnote or a turning point will depend on what happens next. But one thing is already certain. The Republican Party can no longer pretend that its future and Donald Trump's future are the same thing. And once that realization takes hold, nothing moves the way it used to.